Planning Commission meeting, April 27th. May I have roll call, please?
Chair Quilty,
Here.
Vice Chair Andrade,
Here.
Commissioner DeBolt,
Here.
Commissioner Gross,
Here.
Commissioner Lowe,
Here.
Commissioner Riley, absent, Commissioner Sofolkanik.
Here.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, if there's anybody who would like to come up and speak on an item that's not on our agenda tonight, please come up to the podium and sign in. Okay, seeing nobody come forward, we'll close oral communications and move on to the approval of the minutes of the March 23rd meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Move on to the approval of the minutes for the special meeting of April 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. There's nothing on the consent calendar, so we'll move on to item A, conditional use permit for the dentist office located in the CG zone.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. This is the continued consideration of CUP number 16-1. It's to allow a dentist at Center Plaza. As you know, Center Plaza is right in the center of Los Al Boulevard between Katella and Cerritos. It's a large shopping center, and the Commission was supportive of us drafting a resolution of approval and devising some conditions. The applicant is in the audience tonight, ready to accept those conditions. This is a public hearing, so I would keep the public hearing open until the end of the meeting until you need to close it. And with that, we're recommending approval of Resolution 16-08, a resolution of the Commission approving conditional use permit 1601 to allow medical use at 10688 Los Alamitos Boulevard. And with that, Sandy Yavitz is in the audience. If you have any questions on the applicant, and if you have any questions on the conditions, Tom and I can help you with that.
Okay, we'll continue the public hearing from the last meeting. Is there anybody who would like to come up and speak on this item?
Sorry, folks.
Do we have any questions for the, I mean, I think we kind of, we reviewed it last meeting, we just didn't have the resolution to approve.
Right.
So, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Move on to item 7B, conditional use permit for secondhand shop in the CG zone.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a conflict on this. I have interest in real estate within 500 feet,
Okay,
so I'll sit down.
thank you. Do we have a staff report?
1 second.
Yes, we do. Tom's catching up.
Right, fast.
You want me to begin it for you, Tom?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, Chair Quilty and members of the Planning Commission, conditional use permit 1606 seeks approval for, to open a 750 square foot secondhand shop at 3622 Katella Avenue, which is in the general commercial zoning district, in the shopping center near Mustards and Madera, in that area. The building, as you may recall, was recently renovated due to a fire, so there's a lot of people moving in right now. The applicant is here with us tonight. Cheyenne Lesser is over there. If you have any questions, she'll be happy to answer them. Ms. Lesser filed an application to sell children's used clothing, shoes, and accessories in a store that she would call Los Alamitos Kids Resale. The applicant purchases used clothing from customers for the business, and then she marks them, cleans them, sorts them, and stores them in the building. The purpose of a CUP is to ensure compatibility with the surrounding uses, and it is very compatible. It's a pretty benign use. The use will be conducted indoors and not generate any noise or anything like that. The applicant would use the building as it stands, and no construction improvements are considered to be, I mean, she's not planning on doing anything like that. And although it's a secondhand store, not a pawn shop, the state still requires that they do a secondhand dealer background check, which has been done by the police. She passed, she got her certificate for that. Just the only thing to remember is this is a conditional use permit that will run with the land. So her business seems benign and very nice and all that stuff, but someone else might come in there later that runs their shop differently. So just keep that in mind. Staff recommends approval and suggests that the chair open the public hearing at this point.
Okay. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing. Would the applicant like to come up and say anything?
Good evening. I met you guys last month, I believe.
Yep.
I just want to say that I am very experienced. It's not like I just decided, hey, I'm going to go open up a children's store. I've actually been managing a very successful $500,000 company a year in Newport that I raised sales from $300,000 to $500,000 within about 3 years. And I just decided that there's such a need for this, you know, and I don't have children of my own. The store's actually been quite a bit of birth control for me. It kind of traumatizes me with all of the kids. But I could never imagine being a first-time parent and having to buy everything new. And it's just such a waste. I mean, I have a niece and nephew, and they're absolutely disgusting. And they just don't value their clothing, and they trash it, and you know, seeing what my sister has to pay for everything is ridiculous. So I really hope that you guys, you know, trust that I'm doing this for the community. My long-term goal is to own 30 of them all over, you know, Southern California. My goal is not to leave or sell it. This is 10 years of my life, you know, working 2 and 3 jobs, saving money. So I want you to believe that I'm not going to just, oh, I got it, sell it to some skis bag or anything like that. I plan to be here for a very long time. So
Okay.
that's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to come up and speak on this item? Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question for staff. Is there a differentiation in, I'm looking at our code, is there a distinction between secondhand store and pawn shop?
No?
Yes, there
Oh,
is
there is?
actually, yeah. Pawn shop, they're holding it for,
Collateral.
as collateral, and whereas this is not held as collateral, once she buys it, it's hers.
Is that, where's that distinction?
In
our code?
In the definitions.
I'm
in the
looking at the
back.
definitions, I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's also state law that regulates pawn shops and.
My concern is if this use comes in and she decides to leave or is forced to leave, I see at the end
A
that
pawn
the-
shop can't come in after this. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a different kind of store.
So, all right, approval of
would
this
have-
use does not,
No.
Right.
Didn't we do that with the new to you when they were coming here? We went through the same thing, so it was under the same scope at that time.
Yeah, it says, yeah, pawn shop means indoor retail establishment that accepts personal property as collateral for loans and offers property for sale to the public. And then it says, see also secondhand consignment store.
can you read, before you
Which
go on,
means
Tom,
to
can you
look-
read that section into the record?
Which section?
Which section ever you're referring to?
Section 17.76.020 of the Los Alamitos Municipal Code.
All right.
Yeah. So,
Any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 1 abstention. Congratulations. Okay, we'll move on to item 7C, a site plan review for duplex to be constructed in the R2 zone. Do you have a staff
Okay.
report?
that's also me.
Oh, sorry,
Wait for
wait
Art
for
to
Oh,
get
Art.
back here. I don't think he expected you to do that so fast.
Mhm.
It's gotta move a little faster.
Sorry, it was a little harder.
Okay, Chair Quilty and members of the Planning Commission, Site Plan Review 1603 is an application for the construction of a 4,649 square foot residential duplex unit on a 7,405 square foot vacant parcel. It's vacant right now, at 10700 Reagan Street in the limited multifamily residential zone. Let me show you. Whoop. Come on. There we go. Okay, so there's a picture of what it looks like. The applicant is here with us tonight, Teresa Matazzaro, and she has people with her that she may have talked later on during the public hearing. Ms. Matazzaro would like to build a duplex with an attached 3-car garage, and then also has one extra space that's outside of the units. And this is in Old Town East. There's also, she has to bring the driveway from the alley. It's not from the front of the building. And so because of that, because it's on an alley, she also has to dedicate 2.5 feet to the city for use of the trash trucks to get through there. Each unit has 3 bedrooms. The project meets or exceeds all requirements and development requirements of the zoning code. But the parcel itself is legal non-conforming in both area and width. But that doesn't stop this from being approvable. So the project meets density goals of this zone and takes a step towards implementing the city's general plan ideals for the limited multifamily zone. This is what it was intended to be like. In addition, specific requirements are set forth elsewhere in the code, and staff has conditioned the project to meet the standards for subjects such as lighting, air conditioning, and site safety triangles. Okay, the architectural detail of the building is very nice. There's the empty lot there. It's a nice looking. Nice looking building is what they're planning. It is craftsman in style, has front porches, decorative columns, window trim surrounding the windows, divided light windows, craftsman style doors, exposed ridge beams and rafters and knee braces coming out of there, and decorative stone on the facades of the units. As conditioned, staff supports approval of this site plan review and suggests you open a public hearing at this point.
Okay, at this point, we'll open up the public hearing if the applicant would like to come up and speak. Hi, I'm Teresa. I'm the one that would like to build it. And it's a beautiful lot. We found it, and I just can't even begin to explain how much I'm going to put into this. And he's helping me.
My name is John Epps. I'm the consulting project management for this project.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
You see this?
Not yet, so you guys can have a seat, and maybe a question will come up for you. Okay, thanks. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item?
This is probably stucco. They better watch their color. with
Okay,
the
with
lights.
that,
It
we'll
doesn't match
close the
this.
public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Does anybody have any?
We have a percentage that we require on landscaping for them.
It's required to be 15%. What they've done. Oh,
So we've met the requirement, and it's at 22.6% for landscaping, and it is also a low water type landscaping that also meets the water requirements.
Do we require them to put the trees on the alley?
To put trees on the alley? No, we don't require them to do
Their
that.
picture there has the tree, and personally, I could see them not being there as acceptable.
Mhm.
They usually die,
Yeah.
and then they become unattractive to anybody in that area.
Mhm.
The only thing I would say on your trees up front that I've seen as I've walked the areas is people are putting in your weeping willows, your beautiful jack-o'-lanterns, and then later down the road you pull them out because of the roots and the size. So proportionally, whatever you do, just put that into your mind, just to make sure that they're nice, but they don't have to be so overwhelming for the
Right.
property.
These aren't large trees like a jacaranda or other type. They are a smaller to medium tree, which won't create any sidewalk issues in the future.
I think this is
Doesn't the city actually kind of give you certain types of trees you can
Only
do when
for-
it's-
only on the parkway.
On the parkways, yeah.
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 Yeah, no, that was just, I've seen a lot of them doing that in their little tiny yards,
Oh.
putting huge trees, which makes no sense, and then they cut them out. And they don't replace them because they've got that root base in there.
Yeah, right.
And I don't see the need for the alley trees, if that's the,
Condition.
if it's there just to make the drawing look nice, fine, but I don't think it should be a mandatory.
I think this is the nicest set of plans I've seen as long as I've been on the planning
I know.
commission. It's a very nice job.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And everything fits the code exactly,
Yeah.
which is amazing to me. Yeah.
And I like that the sides also have the architectural detail. A lot of times, the sides of the buildings are very plain and,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I've got a question. I'll second, and then we'll just keep going here. A question of staff
Okay.
regarding condition 10 and 11, two conditions. One references condition 10 in the table. Where did they say
Safety
that?
site triangle.
Yeah, on the site safety, you call it 10, but it's really 11. And then, but I have a question about the need for a site safety triangle, since it's an interior lot and we're not on a corner. And I looked up that code, and site safety is required, or it's there for corner parcels. So I was
Yeah.
just trying to get the.
It's kind of it's a safety issue. Basically,
corner, though.
so people can see as they come out of their driveway. It's kind of a good suggestion to require it.
We don't have driveways.
We don't have to require it, though. They could build their fence right up to the side, and no one could be able to see them coming out of their driveway.
It's a interior lot and accesses from the alley.
Right, which people still drive down alleys. And
So where are we putting the site triangle? On the alley or on the street?
on the alley is where it would be. Yeah, you'll notice as you drive through town, there's a lot of people that do build the fence lower at the back in order to be able to see over as you're pulling
Okay, so-
out into the
Okay,
the
so,
alley.
okay.
I mean, it's not a punitive thing, it's a safety.
No, I understand.
issue.
I was trying to figure out where you were gonna be.
Yeah. Oh, looking, yeah, like those trees, for instance, it's a good idea to plant ones that you can see around them, that are already that big.
Right, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers that.
Yeah.
One last thing, on the resolution, or the attachment. Wait a minute. Just had it. Exhibit A. Yeah, Exhibit A. Yeah, for Reagan, it says 4292 green at the top on Exhibit A.
Oh, yes. Yep,
Gotta hit that delete button.
yeah,
When you're cutting and pasting, you gotta.
yeah, definitely,
yeah.
yeah. You catch my cut and
Good
paste
catch,
job,
Art.
yeah.
And should we change the condition on the safety triangle to 11?
Oh, it is 11, isn't it?
It says 10 on
It
the.
says 10 on the,
Oh, I see, in the staff report? you
Yeah,
mean?
reference.
Yeah, it
Oh,
doesn't
matter?
No, it.
Doesn't matter?
No,
No.
no, not between the two.
That's fine.
That's just a direct.
Okay, that's it. That's good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Beautiful building.
Nice job.
Like
wait to see it finished. You too, I'm sure. Okay, we'll move on to item 7D, zoning ordinance amendment for the planned light industrial zone.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. This is our third meeting on this topic. We think we've wrapped it all up and put it in a nice bow. The public hearing is still open, so no need to reopen it. You have received a letter of interest from an attorney representing a property owner in the area. And with that, we're recommending approval if you don't have any changes. If you do have any changes, we'll be glad to forward that recommended change along with this resolution to the city council if you so wish to just make some easy changes. If not,
I got none.
then maybe we got it right.
Okay, the public hearing is still open if somebody would like to come up and speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Chris Burt. I'm with Manat, Phelps & Phillips. We represent JBC Incorporated. As Mr. Mendoza alluded to, you received a letter today. Within that letter was a specific question about Arrowhead's existing operations, given, well, as you know, they are generally conduct aerospace engineering and manufacturing, accessory, things like that. But they also use some sort of rubber manufacturing in preparing those products. Rubber products has been eliminated from the use list, and I just wanted clarification as to the continued operation of Arrowhead under the aerospace.
Steve, as far as I know, it's not, you're grandfathered in, right?
You are, but I would see it more as a primary use
Right.
issue versus
Right.
a secondary use issue.
Right.
Okay.
A car factory, assembling cars deals with rubber too, but we don't call it a rubber products company.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's how staff would treat it at the counter, is that you look at the primary use.
Okay.
But what we're doing isn't affecting any existing uses at the moment. This is if the tenant moved out or a parcel was sold and a permit was applied for, then these would come into play. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Well, it would be, I'm not exactly sure. I have to look at what Arrowhead does, whether we made that a CUP or not, but it would be legal non-conforming, so they could continue doing that use even under a new owner.
But they wouldn't have to apply for a new, I mean,
No.
what they're
Right.
doing is already existing. We're not
Right.
dealing with
But
it.
I thought we dealt with that.
Yeah, we've
We,
already,
we dealt with aerospace and all that in the last meeting.
Right.
And,
Right.
and,
And
and.
aerospace,
and-
it's gone from a permitted use to a CUP
Right.
use.
Yeah,
Right, but again, they're already existing business. We're not
existing.
talking about, that's
Right.
not, this doesn't even affect them today. If they moved out and somebody else went in, then we're talking about a new CUP.
Assuming the city council does the second reading of the non-conforming ordinance that they introduced the other night, which we
Right.
assume will
Right.
just be routinely approved, then yes, Arrowhead's a legal non-conforming use because it doesn't have a CUP and will be allowed to continue its operations. To become a conforming use, it would need a conditional use permit. It would not be a rubber manufacturing, which
Right.
would be prohibited.
Right.
Okay, great. I just wanted clarification.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's,
Thank
does
you.
that make sense?
It does.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
okay. Move approval.
Thank you.
Okay, Art, you had a motion?
Yeah, I'll move approval of the resolution and to move it on up to the city council.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Get out of here.
Moving on to item 8A, update on the recreational vehicle issue. We have staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. This is not a public hearing. This is a staff report for the commission. You've seen this on your agenda a few times. During your December meeting, the commission was approached by a resident with a plea to change what she saw as a lax code language concerning recreational vehicles. And the resident is in the audience tonight. She feels that our RV parking locations noted in the setback were inadequate to make these vehicles inconspicuous. You'll see some of the her proposed changes that she's placed in the code. But before the city takes on a code change, there's two ways to get a code change. Is an applicant applies for a code change, or the commission passes a resolution of intention. That gives the assignment to staff to then begin working on it. So as of yet, we don't have that assignment yet. So tonight, the task would be to take a look and see if it's worthy of the commission taking on this issue, and whether you would like to pass a resolution of intention taking this issue on. And Ann Bickle is in the audience tonight. If you have any questions regarding what her concerns are regarding our current ordinance.
Or she wants to speak. Okay. No, I don't open up a public hearing because
Correct.
it's,
It's
okay.
not a public hearing
Right, but-
until
Yeah,
maybe a
she-
future meeting.
But they're still allowed to speak.
Right, okay. Would you like to come up and speak?
I'm a little frightened to right now. It's not a public hearing, but I still can.
Yes.
Okay. I have actually prepared something for each of you. If I can remember what to say. I'll stick with, thank you for letting me speak tonight, I appreciate it.
Pardon me?
No, she just wrote this. I think the bottom of it's new, right?
See?
Okay, but yeah.
The bottom part of this memo that you just gave them is new information?
They're just my reasons.
But is that what you supplied to us previously, Ann? That's what they're asking.
No.
So it's a
different than-
new, okay.
Yeah.
So it's new updated information she had supplied.
Right. May I still talk? I'm familiar with the Brown Act, and that's what this is about. My purpose in coming tonight is to urge you to continue to discuss this issue and have it open in a public hearing. I spent some time looking at how this evolved, these zoning regulations. And so I spent some time looking at the general code. As you can see, I looked at the code, I looked at the zoning. I tried to find everything I could on the web that gave me any information about the background discussions to see what the intent was and how you interpreted what the intent was. And you can see with the 3 bullets, these are the things that I found. And they are so general, they're impossible to interpret. I mean, they're wonderful, but how do you make rules and zoning codes based on enhancing the aesthetic quality of the city? It's really hard to do. I appreciate how difficult this is. It's all judgment. There are no, I have a judgment about what's appropriate for the city. You have judgments about what's appropriate for the city, and I guess that's what this issue boils down to, is how you look at that. But I have some things that are in my mind about why I think this is not good for the city. And the first one is that the size is not defined in the code. And the size of the vehicle that I'm concerned about, and the one that's next to me, it's there parked now, if you'd want to drive by and see it. He brought it in this afternoon. It's it's as big as one of the homes in the mobile park back here. It's as big as that. It's at least 400 square feet. And I think it's as big as a room addition or bigger. And so it sits right next to my front window. Oh, yeah.
That's
Who's
not it, but
That's not it, but that's good. That's good, yeah.
We
get the idea.
Yeah, you got it. It's big. And I think it has the same, as I said in here, the same intrusive impact that a room addition or a whatever addition would be. So I think that's a
point to discuss. The second point that I want to make is that I looked at the commercial vehicle, and that's restricted to 22 feet, whereas recreational vehicles or recreational things such as boats, I assume, are under this too, are not. And I have to assume that you were trying to protect the neighborhoods as residential neighborhoods and not make them commercial neighborhoods. And so the size of the commercial vehicle is limited. But I think it's a similar condition. It's really the effect on the neighborhood. And so the 22 feet makes sense to me. And they have parked another recreational vehicle in that same spot over the years that has not been this big. It was fine with us. Didn't make any difference. It didn't just dominate my front window or the anyway. And third, I think there are some inconsistencies. You can explain these to me. I have trouble reading A and B below. It appears to me that the rules on screening are different for front and for back. You have to screen vehicles in the back, but you don't have to screen them in the front. Screen from view, but you can park in the front wide open, and you can't. You can explain that to me. I think there are some inconsistencies in that might be looked at, and the type of screening that you would require, I think, is an important piece. I remember writing that in my knowledge of how to write code, which I have no knowledge. And the fourth thing is that I know you have to balance my rights with my neighbor's rights, with the community's rights. I mean, you've got this big thing you're bouncing up and down. So what I'm telling you is what I think are characteristics of an aesthetic quality, tree-lined, enjoyable neighborhood. So I think the recreational vehicles are intrusive. I think they take away from the quality of life in Los Alamitos when you can drive down the street and see them. I know many of you have been to our neighbors, to Buena Park, drive through those neighborhoods. My friends live over there. It's just solid RVs up and down. And it's just not the same neighborhood. Anyway, these were some of my thoughts underneath writing, trying to write what a reasonable size would be, what reasonable parking situations would be. I don't think they belong in the front yard ever. But that's my point of view based on what I think is what the community values. But ultimately, it's up to you and the city council. I'd just like you to open the discussion when we have vehicles like this starting to show up in the neighborhoods. You might have questions for me.
Does anybody have a question? No, thank you.
Come on, please. Just okay.
She's ready.
Huh?
You're ready.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me, to hear me vent, and to consider this. I urge you to keep considering it. Thank you.
Any comments? Art?
I have a question for staff. If we were to move forward and, quote, open a discussion, and oh, here it is. Could we, let's say, keep it at that as a discussion without, at least at the next meeting, whatever meeting we open this discussion, without recommendations for changes and stuff like that. In other words, if we just get information, but
You mean have a public hearing to get other people's
I'm
opinion, or-
if we're going to look at what other cities are doing, I don't know, it's said in here in the staff report about staff, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I have it, but it's, oh, here it is. You would,
I was curious when the last time the recreational vehicle code was amended.
2006, and then there was a small change in 2014 in that code, but it wasn't regarding RVs. It was how close you could put that driveway to the
Right,
property
right.
line. But in 2006, it was the redo of the whole zoning ordinance, not a micro look at RVs.
I personally would like to see something like this come from the council to us. This is, rather than have it initiate from us, but on the other hand,
This is a widely debated topic.
I know that.
never ends well.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
50% of the people are
Right.
going to be happy with any change.
Yeah.
And 50% of the people are not going to be happy. And we've got one issue right now that we're looking at. I mean, we don't
Right,
have.
that's-
wi-
and that's
so
why-
we
that's
don't-
why I
we
wanna-
don't have a wide amount of people coming in, a large amount of people coming in saying, this is a huge problem in our city. So now you open this can of
It's-
worms
exactly.
that I don't even know that you want to go to. Now, the other question I had with regards to that, I remember, this has been going on for a couple, 3 months now, so I remember there was an attempt to have our patrol go out and check, code enforcement, check that site, and I believe at the time that they went, was the motorhome there or not there? And did they say that it met the requirement, or was it not there? Do you remember?
He was cited when he was in his backyard.
Side yard.
When it was in his side yard towards the back.
Because he was too
He
close
was
to the wall?
cited, correct.
Okay.
When it's in the front yard, it wasn't a violation of the code. Then we had the code enforcement attorney, not Lisa.
Right.
The code enforcement, city prosecutor, he's the one that would have to take the case to court. Look at it, make sure we were enforcing it correct, and we documented that in your last staff report, or even this staff report, stating that he agrees with staff, that if it's in the front part, it is not a violation of the code as it's currently written today. So we had that done. Now, the RV comes and goes. It hasn't been there
Right.
ongoing this entire time. So sometimes we go there, we see it, sometimes we don't. Ann just said it returned yesterday. Perfect timing for her, I'm sure.
Well, not really.
But yeah,
Is-
and then,
Is that because they were gone traveling the entire time, or are they storing it somewhere else?
They store it somewhere else. They found out that I was making an attempt to
Okay.
regulate it and.
So did they bring it in to pack it up for the?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so it's a they actually, it sounds like they were being possibly neighborly and actually made an attempt to move it somewhere else.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They did.
That's my 2 cents, guys. I'm really not a fan of opening this up for any further discussion, to be honest with you. I understand her point, and it sounds like that neighbor actually has made an attempt to possibly, help out the situation. But that's.
do we get a lot of complaints from do you get a lot of calls, or who would get those calls? Would it be you guys?
yeah, code enforcement gets them. We have a call, we had a call just a couple weeks ago in Carrier Row, and then, of course, it starts the trickle effect. Go after his RV, go after his, but it's usually boats, and driveways too long.
I got a procedural question for council.
Lisa?
In a prior agenda item, Commissioner DeBold had to recuse himself because he had a piece of property within 500 feet of it. So if the issue at stake is a motorhome, would a commissioner with a motorhome have to recuse themselves if they own one?
Or how about,
Probably a good idea. I'd have to check the specific rules.
And a second question, is there any way we can have this, I think what our Commissioner DeBolt was kind of alluding to, is there any way this can be, council can direct us to continue this discussion without us having to have staff create zoning code recommendations or alternative language that, in other words, so we can have a discussion without being forced to come to an end.
Well, you're having a discussion now.
Yes, we are.
So any discussion you have before you adopt a resolution, I think, is okay. Once you adopt a resolution, then you've assigned it to staff and the public hearing process
So we can
starts,
have a little bit of a discussion.
like you are now.
So we can ferret through some issues like we just did and kind of define or sharpen the issue, and then if we want to proceed at that time.
But if they do a resolution of intent, that doesn't mean that they ultimately have to adopt anything.
Correct.
This is only to adopt a resolution to talk about it
Right,
further,
the
right? To
resolution.
open a
And
public
just
hearing. Yeah.
limited at that. I don't want to, I understand exactly where Commissioner Andre is coming from. I mean, this is
Every city.
it's a bucket of worms
the
once
same.
you open it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, and I'm not a boat owner, I was a boat owner, okay, for the longest time, and, you know, and I kept mine in storage, okay, because I didn't want to, I would love to have kept it on site, I mean, work on it, but
Well, you're gonna find that there are certain people that look at that code specifically before they move into a community because
Yeah.
it will actually weigh on, if you've seen what the rates are for storage at some of these times, and there's the ability to do it without, I mean, we do have a code. It's not like people are parking them across their front lawn.
right.
There is a code there, but, you know, there are people that specifically look for that when they're purchasing
Yeah,
because
I-
it's that important.
No, I understand that, I mean,
Well, maybe that's a good reason why we should look at our code to define it. If it's that important, then we should have a good tool in place to help
Right, but
Steve at the
again,
counter.
but
right,
there are
but we
some
have-
areas, and there's some areas that are more conducive, okay, they have bigger lots.
That's right.
See, like if you get down into the Carrier Row area, for example, they have bigger lots, and can we enact codes that are, I would say, neighborhood specific?
Well, no, it's.
Or lot size
it lists
specific, or
R1, R2, and R3.
But it kind of is at the moment that it's said, if you look at how the setbacks are and where you can put items,
Yeah.
it's very specific about where you can put it.
Yeah,
It's saying you can or cannot based on your lot size.
right.
Or
Well, your lot
or
will dictate.
or
what
your
you-
wall, you know, your wall or
driveway.
whatever, yeah.
I mean, just in general, just where my general feeling is that if you can get it into your backyard
Mhm.
and keep it, you know, away from, within the same setback as a building, okay, then I say, no, more power to you. It's your backyard, do what you want to do.
And it's set that way right now.
Yeah.
You have to be, I believe,
And that's without
on
any,
the
to
side,
me,
you
that's
have to
without
be-
any screening or anything like that. Because which is worse, looking at an RV or having a neighbor 5 feet from the fence build a 2-story blank wall of stucco that's there forever?
right.
Okay, that, you know, so an RV or anything that's temporary, in the long run, temporary. They might own it for 30 years, I mean, but, you know, and it is still temporary in time. That's one, in the front, as far as I'm concerned, I would say nothing in the front. That's the way I am. I mean, I've had a boat, I mean, and I simply wouldn't do it to my neighbors. I would love to go out there in the evening and work on it. I mean, I'd love to work on my boat, but, you know, that's generally where I'm coming from. You know, I don't care about what my neighbor does in his backyard. If I don't like the way it looks, I don't look at it. And that's all there is to it. And, so that's kind of where, if this is a trial balloon going up, this is,
Well, again,
you know, but,
we haven't seen
yeah.
a rash of
Well, that's
people
it
coming
too.
in.
That's
and
it
so
too. And
I
I'd
don't,
prefer, yeah.
like, you go ahead and open that up, you'll never see this place so full.
Right, right. That's what I can see what's coming.
And the end result, I don't know that it's gonna be any better than what we currently have. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
We have something in play that hasn't created much of an issue here. We've got code enforcement to take care of the ones that aren't meeting the current requirement. Why do we wanna go there?
I agree with you. Why open a can of worms? What I like is that the neighbor heard that she was not happy, and so they worked out their own situation.
Yeah, I think that's
And I
great.
think that is a better way to go, rather than us go in and interfere with the
And we
situation.
can wait if we get
Yeah, if we
more
start.
complaints.
Well, that's, I mean, that's the whole thing. If-
Yeah, yeah,
If we
I-
were getting a ton of complaints about it, I think it would be, something more prudent to take a look at. But the fact that, and I'm not trying to discount, believe me, I'm not trying to discount your complaint, because your complaint is just important as anybody else's, but we have one, we don't have, 20 or 30, so it's trying to take a look at the greater good, I guess, is where I'm at, and if we do open this up, we have now, like I said, it's usually 50-50 in almost any case that I've ever seen about it, of happy and not happy, so you don't win. You really don't.
And right now, if the neighbor's willing to work with her, we could make it worse.
You, potentially,
Well, not
potentially you
I
could.
would hope
and
that
that's
they
the-
would continue to work with the neighbor, not just her, but anybody who's had trouble.
That's, hopefully the plan is that people can all get along. So, yeah, I mean,
So are we all in agreement on that, to hold off if we get a rash of more complaints, then we'll
Then we
talk
can
about it
address it.
again?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a
I'll make the
motion?
motion to deny the resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Is that unanimous?
I'll give it
Oh,
Give an eye.
Aye.
okay. It was a silent aye, apparently.
Trying to find it.
Okay, do we have any items from the Community Development Services?
Nothing to report. I thought the hotel guys are gonna be here tonight to introduce themselves to you, but they'll be back at the main meeting.
We'll be back.
Any commissioner reports? Okay, meeting is adjourned.